So I'm going to hand over to Gabrielle from Epiphyte.
Okay, good morning. I'm very happy to be here. I saw everybody chatting. Everybody looks very excited, so I'm going to try to keep that energy up. My name is Gabrielle. I'm a lawyer by training. I focus on cryptocurrencies. And today I am representing Epiphyte. I'm counsel for Epiphyte. So, virtual currencies, cryptocurrencies, are they disruptive? I want to spend some time talking about what we mean by disruptive technology in banking. Up until very recently, when we've been talking about disruptive technology, we've been talking about technologies which provide conveniences to customers. So what's a good example of that? A good example is mobile payments. Mobile payments are disruptive because a customer can now transfer money or receive money without going into their local bank branch. That's pretty disruptive. Another example is crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is pretty disruptive because, you know, in my opinion, there's a broken financial system. And now, without knowing anyone or going through the traditional route to access capital, I could go on a platform, unbeknown to anyone, and get my project financed. So that's pretty disruptive. So now we talk about virtual currencies, cryptocurrencies, very popular one being Bitcoin. Is that disruptive? Well, the answer is yes, it's very disruptive. And why is it disruptive? Because now using cryptos, you can send value over the internet instantaneously without an intermediary. So previously, if I wanted to send Sabine money, I would have to make a request to my bank. The bank would have to facilitate that request. And then as a matter of a transactional history, would record Sabine as the new owner of the £1,000 that I'm sending. Now, through cryptocurrencies and the protocols that underlie the currencies, you can send that value instantaneously without any intermediary. So crypto technology is fundamentally disruptive. And it's so fundamentally disruptive that it makes us rethink finance and the need for finance and how financial services are provided. So that's pretty disruptive. When Bitcoin started to become popular about 18 months ago with the Cyprus fallout, people started to have different views as to what the role of cryptocurrencies would be in our ecosystem and existence. So there was a popular view that Bitcoin would replace the financial sector completely, and like that movie Ethereum, we'd all have tattoos on our foreheads and scan ourselves with barcodes, and it's the end of the world. We at Epiphyte believe that the unique opportunities presented by crypto technology must be used in synergy with traditional finance principles. So it's not a replacement, it's simply an improvement and evolution driven completely by tech. So what we do at Epiphyte is we assist our customers to bridge that gap between traditional finance and crypto finance principles and infrastructure. So very specifically, our main current customers who are banks have on the one hand the resources, the means, and the reach, and the traditional models that they've been using all along. And then on the other hand, you have this very unique, special technology that most people don't understand, they don't know how to use it, and they don't know how to leverage it. So we try to bridge that gap through our team and software that we provide and various solutions so that banks can take advantage of opportunities which are now emerging. So who is Epiphyte? Epiphyte, a group of people like myself. Like I said, I'm a lawyer by training. I come from a financial services background. I used to run the largest insurance company in the Caribbean region. We used to have 31 countries of business. And I started in cryptocurrencies through gaming. I used to waste a lot of time online playing games. And I started to get more and more interested in virtual currencies. That's how it started. And then I spoke to someone one day and I said, wow, I see this thing called Bitcoin. What company is that and where is it headquartered? Not understanding the significance of the technology. And then I started to get more involved in it. As I started to get more involved, I started to get connected with more people like yourselves who are more interested in the crypto space. And long story short, now I'm with Epiphyte that spent a significant amount of time and resources identifying whether cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, are a risk or reward to its customers. So very specifically, in terms of leveraging opportunities, we facilitate or help or identify or consult on how that can happen, when that can happen, and how safely you could do it. So we were chatting this morning, just before the session started, about real concerns about cryptocurrencies. And of course, there are real concerns. It's a new technology. We don't have the answers as yet. But I personally believe that that's the beauty of it. It's an opportunity to rethink finance. It's an opportunity to rebuild finance from the ground up. And because the answer is not clear, there's a lot of uncertainty. I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask me, is it legal or not? That's the opportunity, and that's the exciting and frightening part about it. So the short answer is yes, cryptocurrencies are very disruptive to banking. And having said that, I'm going to open it up for discussion.
Questions for Gabrielle, please.
It's not so much of a question, but more to expand a bit on what you said around how disruptive cryptos could be to the established banking world. So I think if we go and say this is going to disrupt everything we knew, then a lot of people in established finance are going to be a bit worried about that. They might not want to work with that. They might even go further to try to stop that. And it's happened in the past. I think we should be slightly more aware of who we're talking to. Not people in this room, because I think anybody coming to this kind of event is probably positively interested in cryptocurrencies, but there are other people out there in the established finance world that might be completely unaware of anything that's happening in this space. So one thing that I think Epiphyte is doing, and Epiphyte is one company in this space, there are many others, is trying to make it more palatable to the standard day-to-day banker or standard day-to-day consumer or standard banking regulator or any other element of the established ecosystem of finance. One way Epiphyte is doing that is by building technology that is familiar to the systems that banks work with. So you don't need to get used to new protocols that are maybe insecure or not controlled by banks. So that's an aspect that I think is worth being aware of. It's revolutionary, yes, but it's better to make an evolutionary approach towards where we want to get.
I agree, and I think, and I should have mentioned this just in case, you know, the reason I'm so personally excited about Bitcoin is it's the first time that we've ever had in our lifetime where you could have a completely digital commodity. There's no physical manifestation, and it's a big deal. This is the first time this has ever happened. And I think that it's the largest form of innovation that we've seen in computer science to date. So it's very, very significant. And you know, I take the point, and I should have phrased it that way.
Okay, do we have another question? We do, okay.
So when I look at Bitcoin, I'm coming from the banking side of the house. I think of the actual, you know, the size of the Bitcoin market today as fairly insignificant in terms of global payments, you know, in terms of the flows. When you talk about disruption, you know, if you were projecting forward, do you think that it will, you know, start to form the basis of, you know, large-scale, you know, financial flows, or is it going to be very much focused on emerging markets, you know, where currencies or existing currencies within countries aren't so strong?
The truth is, I don't know. And I will say this. The US federal government sold, I think it's 30,000 Bitcoin last week for $19 million. So it's not that there is not a demand for it, but where it's heading, the truth is I don't know. I do see an opportunity in emerging markets. So for instance, I'm originally from the Caribbean, and the particular island that I'm from has a security problem. So Bitcoin represents a solution to that, because now you have a cashless environment that people can operate in. So if you're talking emerging markets, yes, I think there's a great demand for it, but I really don't know which direction. I wish I knew, because then I would fashion all my business that way. But the truth is, I don't know.
Just take one more at the back, and we'll move on to the...
I'm going to deliberately throw up a contrary view, which
Sure.
I'm not sure I necessarily 100% believe in. But isn't it really just a replacement carrier for the kind of core of a payment system, where at the edge, you still default to old methods effectively to get money in and out? If you think about PayPal, it's one of Visa and MasterCard's biggest providers, because the edge is still old school. And so, yes, it could be a carrier technology, but ultimately it doesn't supplant or radically change anything fundamental.
I think it is fundamental tech. I understand what you're getting at, and I think that that's supply and demand. So until you could go to a corner store and buy bread with BTC, it's not fundamental in that sense. But we at Epiphyte don't believe that that's particularly going to happen. What needs to happen is, and you know, those are our current customers, the banks who have those resources and the reach, they need to get on board. And once they get on board, then I think you're going to see for the average Joe the fundamental change in terms of convenience of services, in terms of new types of services. I think that's where the activity is really going to become very exciting.
Okay, and will the average regulator allow that in our lifetime?
So my personal view, regulators are hard to please. They're very hard to please, and they tend not to be business people or entrepreneurs. Their job is to regulate. So I think, as we all know now, the regulators today don't know what to do with Bitcoin. They don't understand it. They don't know what to do with it. And as you're saying, they're trying to control it, which is not going to happen. So in the last, let's say, 4 to 5 months, you're seeing some regulators now stepping back and saying, well, you know, it's not illegal, but we don't recommend that you use it. And then you have other regulators, for instance, in the Isle of Man, as of 3 weeks ago, have said, well, we want to be the Bitcoin jurisdiction of the day, for obvious reasons, because they're offshore. And we're bringing Bitcoin into our anti-money laundering regime. So the answer is, I don't think they could stop it. And I think what's going to happen is, as Bitcoin gains more traction, you're going to see regulators softening the approach, hence the New York Bitcoin hearings. Okay, hence the FCA here saying that, well, you know, it's not illegal, but we'll give you a license if you want to operate a Bitcoin exchange. You're going to see that type of, you know, pullback. Does that answer the question?
Okay, Gabrielle, we're going to call it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So what we'll do now is we've got some scenarios. We've got a first scenario, which is about the blockchain protocol. And most people kind of get that. The really interesting thing here is how we can apply that protocol. So we've got 6 stations here. I like to split up into groups of 4 to 6. And then there are worksheets that just take you through this scenario. But this one is based